So just a few days into this transfer window, we've already had several deals go through and loads of rumours floating around. Let's jump into it. So guys, welcome back to another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup. Like I mentioned before, absolutely loads to talk over today. As always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and get all your thoughts on the recent speculation in the comments down below. Just before we do hop into anything though, I must give a big shout out to our sponsors over at OneFootball. If you've not already, make sure to go ahead and check out the new OneFootball app in the top line of the description down below. If you've not already downloaded it, now is a better time than ever with the January transfer window open. As much football as we've got going on at the moment, you know, we've got FA Cup third round weekend that's coming up. So if you want to get live updates to your phone whenever a goal goes in, and also read up on some of the latest stats of players at your clubs and potential new signings as well, OneFootball is the place to stay on top of everything. I find it really handy for that, so like I say, link down below. But we do have quite a lot of talking points to go through in today's video. We've had a lot of completed deals which have gone through. The first thing I wanted to touch on was Brentford's game last night as well. Commiserations to Brentford fans who were knocked out by Spurs. In the end, they just had a little bit too much, but a couple of controversial moments in that game, I think it's fair to say. Obviously, we had the De Silva red card and the Ivan Toney goal, which was ruled out by VAR as well. Don't know about you guys, but it's another example of me just not wanting VAR in the Championship. So do get your thoughts on that game in the comments down below. But let's start out by going over some of the completed deals which have gone through in the past few days. So we'll start out with Watford midfielder Etienne Capoue has completed a move to Villarreal. Quite the loss for the Championship club here. Over the years, Capoue in that midfield for Watford's been a real integral figure. He was closing in on 200 appearances for the club, so I'm interested to see how they go about replacing him because he had quite the presence in that side. One deal that they have got over the line though is for Philip Zinckernagel. Very interested to see how he kicks on. We mentioned this deal in the last rumour roundup video, at the time just being a rumour, but since then it has now been confirmed. Comes with quite a bit of pedigree about him, put up really good numbers last season, so I'm interested to see how he adapts to Championship life. Middlesbrough have completed the deal for goalkeeper Jordan Archer. I imagine that he'll be coming in as another backup option. We saw Barnsley complete a deal for defender Liam Kitchen. We spoke about this one on the last video as well. Fits into Barnsley's recruitment strategy here. I think they got a good player on their hands. We've also seen a few loanees returning to their parent clubs. So Philip Benkovic has returned to Leicester after making just one appearance for Cardiff, and Casey Palmer has returned to Bristol City after not really featuring all too much for Swansea. Casey Palmer, I still think there's a real good player there at Championship level. It's just a question of he needs to find the side that plays to his strengths and he gets a consistent run of games in that team. But I still think there is a player there if you play to his strengths. Speaking of Bristol City, we've also seen midfielder Chris Brunt departing. He's now a free agent. And then moving over to Michael Preston North End, who have actually been really busy in the transfer window so far. We'll speak about Jason Maloney first of all. Obviously, we did see him out on loan in the Championship last season. Did really well there with Millwall, and Millwall actually wanted to get him back. So they put in a bid for Maloney, but Brian were only willing to let him go out on loan. Millwall made a bid which would have been a club record fee had they got the deal over the line, but in the end Preston managed to secure the loan deal. I really like this one. I think he's a good energetic midfielder. He'll fit into the Alex Neil mould, the sort of player that he likes in midfield. Loads of energy about him, good quality on the ball as well, and I mean, you know, you've seen by the reaction on Twitter, if you've seen it, you know, all the Millwall fans wanted him to return at only 21 years old as well. I think he's a really good signing until the end of the season there. The perhaps more controversial deal that Preston have completed though is for striker Ched Evans, who joins North End on a 6-month loan until the end of the season, coming from Fleetwood. Now, from a purely footballing point of view, I think this is such an average signing for us to make. It's been the sort of recruitment strategy that I and a lot of other North End fans have criticised the club for after recent years, and we've dipped back into this market, and for the life of me, I don't understand why, especially in this area. We've gone in for, on the face of things, if you take, you know, all the baggage out of this deal, we've gone in for a 32-year-old League One striker who had scored 5 goals this season and has been let go of Fleetwood for disciplinary reasons. Honestly, I can't wrap my head around the logic for this one, really. In the last 10 years, he's played 9 matches at Championship level and he's not scored. And he's coming along to North End where he'll probably get a handful of appearances here and there, and he probably will score a few goals. I'm not denying that. But in the general scheme of things, long term, I really don't understand this signing. We really pushed the boat out during the summer to get the deal for Emile Rees over the line. He's not been featuring for us all too much lately. I really wanted us to use the second half of this season to really allow Emile Rees to get his feet onto the ground, because I think there's a a real player to work with. They're at a good age as well, and it just feels like this signing is just a massive step backwards for us. But guys, I welcome your guys' thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Myself personally, I'm not a fan of this one. But those are some of the complete deals which have gone through in the Championship over the last few days. Now without any further ado, let's jump into some transfer rumours. So we'll start out with Preston North End actually, as we've got loads of transfer rumours floating around the club at the moment. So David Nugent, who's not currently registered to play for us, is understandably being linked with a move away. It's probably going to be on a loan deal where we'd be, covering the majority of his wages. But Burton Albion have been one club linked to the striker. One player that has been mentioned with North End recently, and there's been nothing official on this as of yet, but Lewis Wing has been one name that has been floating around. Now, Middlesbrough fans, I'd like to get your guys' perspective on this one, and if you see Lewis Wing having a long-term future at the club. So far this season, he's not played all too much football, just 3 starts and 7 sub appearances for him in the Championship. Obviously, he is a player who over the last few years has scored quite a few audacious sort of long-ranging goals, hasn't he? But I think maybe consistency's been the major issue there. Last season for them, scored 7 goals and got 2 assists, so I'm interested if that one actually develops anywhere. Both Preston North End and Blackburn Rovers have been linked to Manchester City defender Harwood Bellis. This would be a deal that I would be interested in, especially with Ben Davies' contract running out. It's looking more than likely that he probably will be off during this window, so cover is an area that we are in need of at centre-half, especially with Patrick Bauer missing for the season as well. But then probably the transfer story which I'm most excited about as a North End fan at the moment, and who I see as a realistic long-term option for us, is Ben Whiteman from Doncaster. Now, a lot of Championship interest in Whiteman, understandably, after how good he's been. He's really been at the top of his game in League One over the last few years. Over the summer, we saw Barnsley having heavy links to him. They couldn't quite get a deal over the line. Now it seems to be Preston in the driving seat to get this deal done. However, QPR are amongst some other clubs who are also interested in the midfielder. Now, it's all well and good, we've got a couple of loan deals over the line so far. We're trying to sort of cover our backs for when the inevitable happens and some of these out-of-contract players leave, but long-term we're going to need to invest into some players, and the midfielder is especially one area that we're going to need to look into. Ben Whiteman, I think, would be the best case scenario for us. I really like him as a player. This is exactly the sort of recruitment that I want to see more of from Preston North End down the line, so if we were to get that deal over the line, I'd be very impressed. But then to one of the potential departing players, that is Ben Pearson, with his contract running out at the end of the season, with him currently out injured as well. It might have been, I might have seen the last of him in the North End shirt, which I'd be absolutely gutted about. And these sort of players, they don't come around often. I think the last player that I was properly absolutely gutted when they left the club was probably Joe Garner, our top scorer in League One, massive part of our promotion squad, and actually a Preston North End fan himself. It would be that level of me being gutted if Ben Pearson was to leave, but right now I do think he's a Premier League player in waiting. The club's been linked to Ben Pearson, Celtic, Brentford, which did surprise me a little bit, and West Brom have all been linked to him. I can see reasons behind each of the moves, to be honest with you. I think, it'd be a pay upgrade wherever he goes, but for me personally, Ben Pearson has been right up there consistently over the last 2 or 3 seasons as one of the best holding midfielders in the Championship. He's been absolutely superb, and every year he was able to add something new to his game to take himself to that next level, and so he's what a player, and he's going to be hard to replace. And another North End star who looks to be off is defender Ben Davies, another player who I'd be really gutted to see go. Obviously came up through the youth ranks at Preston, and he, similar to Pearson, has just levelled up his game year upon year. And a player like Ben Davies is a real rarity, a ball-playing centre-half who's left-footed, really an integral part of how we play. But some big clubs have been linked to him over the last few years. Sheffield United understandably interested there in the market for a left-sided centre-half. Udinese of Italy have been interested, so obviously the link to Watford there could turn out to be an interesting one. Genk have been linked, and also Celtic in Scotland as well, so it's looking more than likely that, he's got his fair share of options there. It's probably going to happen in this January window. QPR have been linked to Sheffield Wednesday striker Jordan Rhodes. He's not really featured all too much with them so far this season. He's made 3 starts for them and 11 and sub appearances off the bench. In terms of the signing for QPR, a bit of a weird one really. This tweet about it made me laugh. Rhodes would be a terrific signing, also getting the brand new iPhone 5 later on. Listen, John Rhodes is one of those players who, 5-6 years ago would have been an unbelievable signing at Championship level. In 2021 though, I don't know. QPR are definitely a side who are in need of another option up front at the moment. You know, Dykes has been struggling. Stoke City have been linked to Schalke winger Robbie Matondo. Interesting signing this one would be on a loan deal till the end of the season. I like that they're looking in the European market, and to be honest, another winger, wide player, was something that they were in need of. Obviously, they've been a structurally sound side so far this season, but since the injury to Tyrese Campbell are just lacking a little bit of cutting edge going forward, so I'd be excited to see what someone like this could bring to the Championship. Stoke have also been linked to Charlton defender Alfie Yates. Now, I really like this deal. I think that if Stoke pull this one off, it'll be a really good one for them going forward. Only 21 years old, he really burst onto the scene with Charlton last season, and I remember actually, it was when Charlton came to Deepdale, he was playing as sort of a left wing back that day. Really impressive stuff. I remember leaving the game that day thinking, okay, he'll go quite a way in his career. He was making bombing runs going forward, and he can actually play in a number of positions. You know, so far this season for Charlton has played at left back, left midfield, central midfield. He's played on the right hand side as well. So only 21 years old, I think he plug quite a few gaps for Stoke there. Reportedly, Swansea are in advanced talks to sign Southampton striker Michael Obafemi on a loan deal. Now, I like this one quite a bit actually. I think that Swansea, probably more so than a lot of other Championship clubs, have used the loan market really well in recent years. Obviously, some of the signings, albeit that they made in the summer, haven't quite clicked, and obviously with Casey Palmer returning to Bristol City, that's managed to free up another loan spot so that they're able to bring in someone else to the side, and someone like Obafemi really could be that catalyst to push them over into the second half of the season. You know, we go back to the example of Brewster last season and how much he actually rises the quality of them going forward. But one real handful for Swansea is Morgan Gibbs-White is reportedly being recalled from his loan spell by his parent club Wolves. Now, obviously he started out the season absolutely fantastically, looked like a really good technical number 10, fit into the way they play. I thought that he bounced off AU and Low really well. Then he picked up his injury, spent all this time getting back up and going. Finally, it looks as if he's just about there again, and then he gets recalled. So for Swansea fans, this one I'm sure is an absolutely gutting one, but I expect it'll make them dip into the market for another player as well. Shrewsbury Town defender Aaron Pierre has been another defender who's been linked around the Championship at the moment, with Swansea being another one of the clubs who has been interested. I think that Blackburn, another club who I've seen mentioned. West Brom winger Kamil Grosicki looks set to make a move back to the Championship. Now, it looked as if a deal was all but over the line to Nottingham Forest during the summer transfer window. However, I think it was 13 seconds too late the paperwork was submitted in the end, so the deal didn't come off. The two clubs reportedly interested at this point in time seem to be Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough. We spoke about Middlesbrough's interest in Yannick Bolasie last time round, so Borough fans, do let me know down below if you could take one or the other. Who would you be angling for, Grosicki or Bolasie? Obviously, we all know Grosicki's level at the Championship, fantastic from his time at Hull. Southampton winger Josh Sims, who's currently out on loan in League One at Doncaster, is attracting a little bit of Championship interest after how well he started the season. 1 goal and 6 assists for the winger. QPR are said to be one of the Championship clubs that are eyeing him up at the moment. Speaking of QPR though, goalkeeper Seny Dieng is attracting Premier League interest. Now, this one is a real worry for QPR, because if Dieng was to leave, I think QPR will be in a whole lot of trouble this season. The 3 Premier League clubs currently being linked to the goalkeeper are Arsenal, Crystal Palace and Leeds United. This has been a real fantastic year for the goalkeeper. If it wasn't for him, I think they'd be significantly lower down the table. Certainly they conceded a lot more goals. He's been one of the real standout goalkeepers in the Championship so far this season. I'm sure that all the QPR fans would say the same. So yeah, if they were to lose out on him in January, massive loss there. There seems to be quite a bit of interest in Sheffield Wednesday midfielder Izzy Brown at the moment. He's currently at Hillsborough on loan from Chelsea. However, hasn't really featured all too much for Sheffield Wednesday so far this season, just making the 3 starts and then 11 appearances off the bench. 2 of the clubs that seem to be monitoring his situation at the moment are Blackburn and Reading, and dare I say it, he may fit into one of those 2 clubs a little bit better in terms of style of play than he has done at Sheffield Wednesday so far this season. So we'll see if that develops into anything. For the Emi Buendia deal, it's currently been reported that Norwich want at least £40 million if he was to make that switch over to the Emirates. And I mean, I say fair play to Norwich now. I'm always going to be the one that's like standing up for the Championship club in this sort of situation, but they're in no need to sell their prize asset for anything less than what they deem him to be worth. And to Norwich, Emi Buendia is, worth promotion in itself, isn't it? So I fully respect them for doing that, and I think that they will stick to their guns if it is around that 40 million mark. So we'll see if Arsenal budge on that. Barnsley midfielder Matty James has been recalled sold by Leicester, and it looks as if he's going to be going straight back out on loan, but this time to Coventry. Good, nice addition to that Coventry midfield, but Barnsley I think will be quite disappointed not to get him back, really. I quite rate Matty James in the Championship. I think that if he manages to stay fit, which he's done so far this season, I think he slots into quite a few Championship midfields quite nicely, and for Coventry and the sort of football that they like to play, nice addition. And another player who could be joining him at Coventry is Birmingham midfielder Dan Cowley, and if you're to believe the recent quote said by Arta Karanka, it looks as if Cowley's time at Birmingham is up. Now, sometimes you get the occurrence where a player and club just don't quite click like they had the potential to in terms of like sort of the football they play, other people that they have in his position. I still think Dan Cowley, there's a very talented footballer there, and we saw it in, albeit quite brief flashes, but it was definitely there from his time at Birmingham. And you know, a side who could potentially unlock that is someone like Coventry, like I said before, with the sort of football they play, a creative number 10 who would get a little bit more license in those forward areas, and actually maybe a consistent run of games in the team as well, which is something that he probably struggled for with Birmingham. I like this deal a lot. Derby County have reignited their interest in Tyler Roberts, this one potentially happening for a loan deal for the rest of the season. Now, I remember talking about this one during the summer. It seemed at the time like Leeds weren't quite willing to let Roberts go out on loan, but up until this point of the season, he's not played all too much football. Just 2 starts for Leeds in the Premier League and then 6 sub appearances off the bench. He's just played 239 minutes so far this season. Now, I quite like Tyler Roberts actually. I think that Premier League football might have come one step too far from him at this current point of his career, but last season for Leeds had his moments for them when he stayed fit. You know, I remember, I think it was Hull away last season, wasn't it, where he was absolutely brilliant in that game. I think that Bielsa's taken his game on quite a bit actually, so yeah, a move to a club like Derby with the sort of football they play, I don't think that would be the worst move in the world for a short loan deal. And then we'll finish off with Peterborough's Siriki Dembele, who has handed in a transfer request, another one of their really exciting dynamic attackers, obviously the last one to make the step up to the Championship. Ivan Toney's done fantastically well so far. Seems like Dembele may be the next player to make that move. Now, understandably so, at only 24 years old, there's a lot of interest in the attacker who can either play as sort of a winger or as that number 9 himself. In the Championship, Watford seem to be the most interested out of all the Championship clubs. We've also got a few Premier League clubs interested. Fulham have been linked, as well as Rangers in Scotland as well. 5 goals and 4 assists for the player so far this season, but what's really impressive is the average is over 3.3 dribbles per 90. Really good technical dynamic attacker. I think that if Watford did get this one over the line, it would be a nice bit of business. But guys, there we have it. A bit of a long one today actually, but we had just so much to go over. I'm sure that I've missed absolutely loads of transfer rumours as well. So as always, if you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like. If you've seen any other transfer rumours floating around the Championship, get them in the comments down below and we'll give them a bit of a mention in the next one. But apart from that guys, thanks for sticking around and I'll see you all in the next one.